I should get out to the tail.
Oh, you can. Move to a sequence direction, etc.
You're fine.
I have absolutely internet connection at the moment in here. I've got a non-connection, I got an X. On my phone, I connected with my computer to the internet. I tried connecting with my phone without it didn't work.
I love it.
I was in the middle of a message with Mr. Vaughn.
It's a great school.
He thinks this is the most
It's a lot better than Northwestern. This school was. It's true.
Read the number, flash drive.
TOC Finals, no flash drives. That's why Jackson should have been there. We were all paper on
It was used around 7.
We will literally have it for ourselves. Like, shh.
Are you streaming or just? What is he?
I wonder what that laptop's for. I wonder what the laptop that faces us is for. Maybe it'll be like a PowerPoint.
He asked if he was worried whether we'd be distracted or not, but I said I didn't think so.
Distracted by the...
Yeah. Don't know what it's supposed to be doing. I said if I was staring at it and not my clover, things were probably way past too wrong anyway, so.
Where's your backpack? I need some water. Here you go, buddy. Go wild.
This is fine.
You lost that gummy. What happened to it? I don't know.
Yeah, there's recording.
It was just there. Retracer steps. They're replaceable. One sec.
Oh, apparently not.
I am very nearly ready. I'm not ready.
So before the speech, I'd like to thank all of the individuals who helped me get here. All of my coaches deserve a huge thank you for organizing logistics, helping me create arguments, and basically shaping who I am as a debater. I'd like to thank all my lab leaders and teammates for helping me improve and succeed in debate. And most notably, I'd like to thank my family. Without my parents' time and monetary commitment, none of this would be possible. So now for the F. One, the advocacy text out the maximum living wage ought to be adopted as general principle. Anchor 11 defines the common features. Living wage is supported basic standard will be considered decent for a specific time and place. The living wage requires more for healthcare, education, recreation, workers to equal support family normal work outside of the intent to provide people with a basic standard have living. Second, the role of judge and balance vote for the best events of truth or falsity of estimation on supposed to be a level. Africa's reasonable role of balance for time to is next change. The role of balance destroys 6 minutes of AC offense. It's too late for full restart in the 1 yard. Next, there is a distinction between theoretical knowledge and practical knowledge. And the theoretical knowledge is observational information that's simply apprehended. Practical knowledge in context with productive reality. One judgment leads one to act in a certain way, which allows one to know how they act in costs. When I answer how I know that special left over by saying I put it there, claim I was acting as something that student all those possibility about German reality for me, that is to my actually my power to think practical knowledge differs from theoretical knowledge. The way in which it really establishes about theoretical knowledge depends on reality about eyes, obvious object practical knowledge, productive reality of object practical knowledge, understanding the necessity of producing the reality of object practical knowledge, knowledge of why this reality goes about. But if I theoretical knowledge is possible, just observe the feature of the acting of object practical knowledge, the acting such a relation to object consideration productive reality. Reality is not independent of practical knowledge, uniquely present in obsessive theoretical knowledge, observes the existence of practical knowledge, question whether something should exist. This distinction is fundamental to moral agency. Without correctly applying this distinction, you not understand basically what you relate to was an agent rather than an observer. Agents can be alienated from reality when they treat reality as theoretical when it is in fact factual. Agents create institutions because of our normal judgments. When they treat those institutions that exist in purely theoretical, they are alienated from understanding and structuring those institutions. And alienation outweighs one. A bluntly responsible agent should question practical institution for not just why it exists, but why they should exist. Similarly, engaging reactively with purely theoretical institutions simply misguided. Without understanding this distinction, moral agency simply clouds analysis and the notion of moral responsibility for our culpability and coherent too. My frame of communication can hold the conceptual action without non-alienation. Thus, non-alienation of the practical question, something being action, precludes evaluation of goodness or bad self. And next, ethic would just be making category of trying to apply multiple descriptions to non-action. This observes there's nothing regulate, and morality ceases to guide action. The CAC is just upon most fundamental constraint action. No value could also take the principle that this distinction simply deny its own object, that of valuing the goodness or bad of action. But CAC comes a prerequisite to allow and truth on moral statements. Thus, the standard is preventing alienation. First, to assess moral action, each action is distinct from movement. Intentionality is key to action. Alienation prevents distinction between wish and intentions. The distinction between spying and will is only determined by conception of practical thought. There must be an tendency to towards action. Even intention-driven theory still appears about a distinction. Nonetheless, there must be some feature that identifies intention, which is a practical element. When alienated aims can be regarded as wishes rather than intentions, since you don't demonstrate capability to bring about guidance. Second, only non-alienated view accounts for first-person authority. Practical knowledge allows me to know the success of action because you can know what you have done by doing it. Moran. Practical knowledge won't mean this creating the not based on observation. When I shut my eyes and read something, I can say what I'm writing. My class to say was ready not to recommend observation. Once given that we acknowledge about the matter to perform essential actions, our observation really made. In action, you can know what you're doing without observation. This entails the action you're doing. You just think about what's very contained in the same reality out of reality. So side action take action active. In an alienated perspective, you can never capture this, and intention doesn't necessarily correspond to action. However, if you only need your action to observation, have a general absolute black or not, so let's obviously not be morally responsible. This outweighs all. And then framework arguments. If we can't account for the practical component first principle authority, we can never even account for thinking or justification. As any judgment we suspect to the question, how do you know you think that? Yielding epistemic grounds, any theory of thinking or justification. Normally that question can be answered practically by expecting I know. I think because I'm thinking, but without the distinction of the question given an answer. Third, my framework outweighs regardless of role of non-alienation comes first. Making about the structure and shape of the activity relies on assumptions that debaters and community can structure activity practically that we want to be. Any high level deliberation about what goes and modes, what judges should do and how balance should come to relies on AC grounds and details, not your assumption non-alienation is listening to any external about theoretical rules you're written to lie on a non-alienated from CC from comes as a precondition about the previous of debate. I contend more than this recognize condition of alienation. Current way system misunderstanding of all the economy each come to be the economy purely theoretically is something that exists that we have to adapt to. This fundamentally misunderstands the nature of the economy as a practical institution designed to help society. The thesis of the AC is that looking to key to reform our attitudes to the economy must engage with the wage system practically as opposed to theoretically, basing concerns on conditions of livability rather than natural processes. First, the market system wages subject wages to wages and supply and demand. The active wage negotiations to define market force rather than normal consideration of what people should get. This alienates the workers as the workers not in line with their teleological goals. A disruption of these theoretical economic laws is key. Wills achieve. Economic laws rather than human beings stem from production. Wills achievements produce abuse and human beings become alienated from the social world. Conscious life activities deviate by social norms and no longer appears a product of teleological goal, causing these solutions to bring a theory against the social being in accordance with the essence. This means reduction of the ground of rational and conscious control of human beings. Living which restructure nature wage system by driving wage based on practical consideration of human beings rather than theoretical stuff about what happens. Second, the living wage uniquely avoids alienation by deviating from the conventional wage as a price theory, figured at all O2. Public policy discussions examine assumptions about wage setting. Wages can focus on wages living or wages as a price by wages living with purpose of wage providing at adequate levels form of worker. Wages as a price. We're focusing on the equality between remuneration and employees' contribution to production. This constitutes wage setting process analysis that of any of the commodity price in the non-graphic food supply and demand. Third, to regard the economy in a non-alienated way as a practical institution needs to recognize the economy as structured and ability to serve the human good. The economy is not just practice designed to serve the constitutive features of human activity. Law. An economy is a common system delivering exchange directly the production of distribution goods that are living. Monetary each person cannot commission needs for living secure with the need for proper productive activity in communities. Therefore, economic system aims not to secure the electric system that aims to secure the goods necessary for living well. The economic idea of wages, where we take where the economy is properly subservient to a non-alienated perspective. The question whether the economy serves something right, answering whether wages should be set by economic law, right, adapting human living conditions. Law 2. Any economic arrangement is effective. Its members must work in a degrading manner for the compensation too eager for a good life. The system arrangement fails to secure for its participants the means of living well. Such arrangement fails by internal standards of the economy. Such effective arrangement bringing in these benefits of the members of the economy to the employees. Fourth, wages don't just materially help them, but wages can have multiple significance. Adopting living wage principles, adopting the idea that wage should be an indication based on work, not the outcome of economic forces. Rogers 14. Wages not just self-reflect. Wages is not the person quantity and more deeply involved with the students don't think about a social status, not only they're getting rich in society, even wages powerful indication of workers' moral equality. Underview. The intent must have been a competitive policy for the Congress of the resolution naming that just governments ought not mandate living wage. Any net alternative to the living wage must justify price theory as contextualized and figured at all. This philosophical application meeting the topic divides two clear roles. The topic is all about price theory, letter OO. Disagreements among the Congress for living Reaching Act that happens while recent minimum wage controversy is significant exception. The core amount in economics criteria is at stake. Minimum wage research that can be seen as a test of the applicability criteria. The amount of controversy, not just a technical or wage elasticity coefficient, it is a methodological dispute over price here. For further snack positions utilizing wages to live in co-op core acquisition and mitigate FE office also links to education. Debates about specific policies can happen at any topic. This topic is unique and that allows us to discuss the underlying philosophical issues of our economy, and only my intercourse is raised to one an alternative impact in terms of negative influence more options in the app where they can be any kind of critique or justified permissibility. That's your first. You can define space.
Yeah, bottom two space. Right. Everyone good? Can I just defend the status quo?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I defend the status quo, I mean in terms of the app. If I prove that the living
Yeah,
wage...
you have to show that there's an application status, but you can't just defend like it's permissible status.
Alright, got it. So if I prove that the app is a bad idea because the app alienates more people, do I win?
Assuming there are other issues, like assuming the MC framework is not true and unalternative, or assuming there's not like...
Okay, if I just concede the app framework and just read terms, does that sound fair to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I really don't want to have a theory debate. I'd like my last round of the tournament and last round ever to not be a theory debate. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read a util NC, I'll read 2 disads, and then I will turn the affirmative. Does that sound fair?
With just that information, yes.
Okay, what possible information can make that unfair?
There could be anything that could make that unfair.
Look, David, I'm trying my best.
Yeah, no, I don't intend to read theory of the bodyguard unless you like hide a really abusive thing in those
I won't
stories.
hide anything.
It's very unlikely I read theory if you just do that.
Very unlikely you read theory.
Yes.
Can I hold you to that? So I'm just going to read a standard util framework, standard 2 disads, and link those offense back to the EC framework and the NC. Sound good?
Yeah, that sounds
good. Can I read disads specific to the United States?
Sure.
Okay. You will no link those?
I will not know.
Okay. So if I read disads that have offense that is specific to United States and then says it increases alienation in the United States, is that offense under the affirmative framework?
Yeah.
Okay. So then walk me through offense under the app framework. All of your offenses, we need to have a difference between what market wages are and what the living wages. That's status quo. Status quo is minimum wages. That's a price floor. That's a distinction. Why is the living wage key?
It's not about a distinction or price floor. The point is that you need to change your focus from a price or a focus on wage numbers to a focus on livability.
That's already been done. That's the point.
How is that already been done?
That's the point of a minimum wage. A minimum
No.
wage.
A minimum wage is just a price. The difference is a living wage. The distinction between a living wage and a minimum wage in the topic literature is about the concerns of livability.
I'm very confused about the app framework, as I'm sure everyone else is. What I'm confused about is what links. If I say that people are excluded from the workforce, is that an impact on the affirmative?
No.
Okay, what counts?
It's about changing our mindsets about the economy.
Do you think
and how it's structured.
Do you think racism is a mindset that should be changed?
I mean, all of these are bad. The things you're mentioning are bad things, and they are relevant to the app. But
They're
the point
relevant
is
to
that
the app.
the most fundamental
I'm
concerns of the
struggling
economy.
to find a way that racism is not an example of alienation. Can you give me a way that the app framework could mitigate that or say that's not important?
The point it wouldn't say it's bad. It's not important. The point is that the app framework clarifies the most fundamental concern.
The most fundamental concern, which is
reshaping our views on the economy from a theoretical perspective to a practical perspective.
okay. That seems to already been done. What I don't understand is
How has it been done?
Okay, that's fine. Is there any credit in the app that says the words living wage?
Yeah.
Under the offense. Can you read me that line?
Under the offense.
Yeah.
That's the figured it all clarifies the distinction between wages as a price and wages as a living.
But that's not doesn't say the phrase living wage. It says wages as a living. Is there anything
I mean,
else?
that's like word distinctions.
Okay.
It means the same
Is
thing.
there anything else?
The lot argument is about working for a good life. None of them, I don't know if any of them use it. I think Rob is actually specific to the living wage. Maybe not. But all of them are about wages and livability. They might not say the exact word, but they usually contain those two words.
Starting fresh. 314. I'll put it on the flash drive. It's called TOC Finals. So I have my laptop just shut off. Fascinating.
What's it called?
TOC Finals. Close the door. Can you just close it? Okay. So I have a short. So I have a short thank you too. I've been extremely lucky to have the support that I have, and I honestly wouldn't be half the debater or person I am today if it weren't for all these people. First and foremost, I want to thank my parents. They still send me a text after every round I have and call me after every time I lose to make sure I'm not too upset. They've been the greatest source of support for me everything in my life, and I'm unbelievably grateful for all their words and work. I'd like to thank my lab leaders, Ryan Lawrence, Ellen Noble, John Lewis, Chris Tice, who've all taught me so much about how to be a better debater. I'm eternally grateful for the Harker School and its administration for their support and allowing me to attend all these tournaments and miss school and be late on homework and providing me coaches and people to help me in my debates. My teammates have been the greatest help for me in everything I've done. I wouldn't be anywhere without the support of the LD team, Manan, Zarek, Karen, Divijay, Raymond, and Srivatsa. The policy team too. Penny gets me food almost every tournament, and Ayush is my best friend, the smartest and most caring person I know. I need to thank my coaches, both past, Pars, and Nikhil, and current Jerry for being the Pikachu that always cuts cards, Greg Ayton for support and guidance through every one of my rounds, and last but not least to Ryan Fink. It's as much Harker F as it is Harker PR. Love you, and this one's for you. So without further ado, the order is as promised, 3 off in case. Oh, fun fact, I lost one in T. Can you need the flash drive back?
It's good to remember electronic records these days.
Okay, everyone good? First off is the racist intentions dissent. The intentional living wage legislation to force blacks in segregated unions and alienate them. This evidence is fantastic. Hutchinson 11. During the early 20th century, the minimum wage legislation passed the work of eugenic combined progressive precisely because minimum wage caused job loss was the social benefits reform. The service of ridding the labor force of the unemployable. The unemployment is not a social disease, but actually a social effect, serving workers from the full medicine competition for defective progressive era, trade unions, local ordinances to keep blacks out of the trade, to force blacks in segregated unions. Hostility is capable of tying the unions, which is the Great Depression, worst undesirable jobs held by blacks became attractive voices. Approach was of the United States, South African countries to prevent exclusion of the blacks. Like labor law reform, empirics prove that in unionization defending exclusionary wage reform in the name of progress. Living wages prop up the system, views African Americans mentally inferior, only capable of reforming low wage job classes living wage. Hutchinson 11. While labor unions thrive, this policy disproportionately disfavored members of marginalized groups, taking advantage of monopoly power generated by minimum wage, conceiving of labor organizations, white jobs, trust displaced black workers defended in the name of progress, incentivized by self-interest. Even when a black employee performed one more important task, we have a lower job class speech ideology held that African Americans are mentally inferior, incapable of performing these jobs. Articles of the utility labor invasion, great disproportionate employment eliminated the jobs of half of black less than 2 period. Although minimum wage legislation exhibit neutrality, it's not difficult to show labor cartels enforced the philosophy that decisively conceived of either blacks, minorities, inferior outside wage, which fulfill the aspirations by stand for instance undeserving. This controls the internally for the AC. This for the alienation of race means that even the AC talks about the theoretical practical version of race, that even the practical version of the version doesn't include the black body, because black bodies monthly students that they aren't worth are to be able to include. That is a strong determination. What is included in the practical framework. That equal inclusion is also a prerequisite to answer ethical question. Exclusion allows for our position of viewpoints precludes access to truth. The G11. Discourse of practice are uniform and harmonious, but full of conflicts and tensions in full field. Different fields contain particular description of teams, particular ways to produce knowledge by particular obvious evidence or race hidden in the basic requirements. There are possibilities for resistance to version go unnoticed in order to be critical as evidence should be aimed at these insurrections. Those subjects that not be able to stabilize these status quo, they are given a voice at the epistemic table. Next off is the NC. The standard is maximizing expected well-being as contextualized by impacts. The further effectively equilibrium methodology for assessing the framework debate respectively finds coherence between our deepest convictions, perception, justice is key to resolving moral uncertainty. Part 13. There are irreducibly normative truths or denominative truths come to be based on perception, normative beliefs come to be self-evident, and truth of theoretical. Those can be those wholly true and wholly false. Two abilities to respond, reason and recognize and reflective. Equilibrium intuitively based reflective thinking is the best way to make capable and inspired by moral matters. The different people's visual experience self and conflicted may be similarly true that after careful reflection, different people will self-define conflicted beliefs as self-evident. We had such reason to believe they cannot be equally rational and either have or to reject this belief. This also means you and reflective equilibrium. Skip the next paragraph. Reflective equilibrium rules out operates in abstract metaphysical questions of ethics begin with contingent options to consider judgment of the world. This takes out the AC because AC is the question of whether or not we should use a practical theoretical reference and a priori question that the governments can consider. Rawls 99. There is a definite class of facts against which conjecture principles can be checked, namely judgments of relative equilibrium, obvious and possible, developing subject theory tested down that solely terms of logic, treats of logic definition, the analysis of moral concepts as they are too slender a basis. Moral theory must be free to use contingents, presumptions of general facts. Cut the card of fact. This justifies util for 4 reasons. First, is it's the only framework that maximizes our ability for moral deliberation because it preserves the amount of existence, so it's the only framework that allows us to achieve coherence. It's necessary to resolve the framework debate arguments against util, so we try to claim that we have yet to reach a sound ethical basis. They win arguments against util, that's reasonable util, because the only theory that allows us to evaluate which ethical theory is best. Second, util best figures with our moral convictions impartially except everyone who counts all more complex, best available moral theory. Also, Rawls wasn't based because it's a question of what the most practical framework is. This is a question of governance. The affirmative is entirely a question of what individuals should view the economy. The question of governance must educate the individual that requires util. Third, we all believe that we ought to morally to make the world better when we can't prove it on the issue. Otherwise, this means there's no skepticism permissibly to presume that's what the modern might go for Skinner Armstrong 14. Most people with the perception that we have to morally make the world better. The question of whether or not moral constraints need to be added to these consequences of accurate moral reasoning. If no objective fields anything, consequences alone seem to determine what's morally right. 3. Big picture. Claims about moral obligation must be rooted in the physical world. There's no abstract principles, and only statements like the conception of ontology that prefers a real impacts can be applied to existence fields of limits to what impacts are considered existent, and default theories only take natural impacts, pain, and suffering into consideration. And the constitutional obligation to protect citizen interests and individual obligation on political publics. You're good at 95. Usual insurance policy of incentive interest being to your fixed upon duties to save for publics likewise possible reason public action required arise from the inability of individual action to receive federal ends early. Incumbent on individuals to organize and collectively to keep black and individuals or non-collective relation takes place at the very individuals are circles right have the opportunity their collective cut out card of the mode. This means no util ends. First, side constraints of theories of useless government actions and violations are inevitable. Util of the specified action. Second, no calculation of the because non-consequence prevents any action which is worse. We can only guess the influence to be used. Util uses a pre-related third, no calculation depth because government already used util to prove that it's possible to do so. Then not reading 4 and 5. Next up is dissat. Empirically, minimum wage increases substantially with the amount of women about black workers, status quo, education disparities between weight and wages will always hurt minorities. Williams 11. During the recession, the unemployment rate fell to 55% with the easy to save strategy. Unfortunately, the byproduct of the recession, you'd be wrong. The studies demonstrate the increase in minimum wage are too late for the crisis of employment of minority youth. Youth adults left the only 10% increase in minimum wage, decrease employment by 6.5%. That's in fact similar for hours worked, reduced to hours 6.6%. For black males suffered unequal harm for minimum wage increase. They're more likely to be employed. These are businesses low narrow market potential versus physical increase in minimum wage to combat the discriminatory effect of minimum wage. These significant education differences with blacks and whites. Cut the part of whites down. The teen employment kills economic growth and stability. Herbert 09. What we've seen over the past few years, young people largely each universal threats jobs. The growth where you get to push up labor, the economy can't more well. Young people employed for those who have time to make up for the loss. They experience training. The like-minded peers when it comes to wage promise drop. Third child rights will be valid, put up in space. College economy will never be out to state of health. And the impact distinction. Hamlet 12. The American defense U.S. leaders brought the country sense of weakness. Adversarial seems to opt less to trade major war. The Obama declared foreign policy vision control climate change. Urban property moving towards the world of nuclear weapons. Zero more urgently appreciated restoring U.S. economic strength is possible. But bureaucracy foreign policy not reestablished. Not good. Yeah. Big picture of the framework. The entirety of it is the reason why we should look between the practical theoretical framework. You should prefer governmental obligation. There's no part of the AC that talks about what the government should do. All the AC theoretical analysis of what individuals who view the economy as. That's not responsible to the resolution of what a government ought to do. Second, the practical framework is most constantly defines usual. That's the extension of the good and that says practical frameworks require utilitarian responsibility to how the economy works. This is also consistent with the number 4 and 5 that he's reading at the bottom of the potential level because those say that the economy has a purpose. Good. The economy's purpose is to be utilitarian, which means that if the economy were to collapse, that it would be a bad thing. Now let's go down to the offense. Big picture of the offense. Not a single one of these cards talks about a living wage. It doesn't say what the amount that you're given is an important thing. It just says it can't be a market wage. Cool. The status quo that I'm defending is the minimum wage. The minimum wage is sufficient to get the entirety of the offense because it doesn't let the market set the wage. The market set the wages, says supply and demand set the wages. The minimum wage is still a price floor, which means that it's not it doesn't let the market set the wages. It means the areas of restriction. Now let's go through the piece of the read for extent of both these. One, economy collapsing control the interlink, which because economic equity collapse means that the economy doesn't have a purpose anymore. If the economy has purpose, we preserve the opportunity to preserve that purpose. Economic collapse controls the second is racism controls the internal the action. Racism unemployment controls the internal the entirety of the case because the largest example of unemployment of excludability. The argument he's going to go for is that some type of practical solution to talk about the theoretical framework of what alienation means. But alienation is most clear within the context of the workforce when they're not able to be included in the workforce at all. That's the Wilson evidence of rating, or there is specifically an interpretation that attempts to exclude them from the workforce. Prefer specific interpretation and extensions. None of the AC options make sense. So I'm giving you specific, clear arguments that are practical.
Okay, process.
Yep.
Let's talk about the first dissent.
Yeah.
These are historical ways that living wage has been misapplied, correct?
Sort of. The Hutchinson evidence is also a claim about how living wages and increases in minimum wages work, like what they do and what the purpose is. The first part of the
so
evidence.
where does the AC defend living wage for the purpose of creating racism?
No, you don't, but you did say that you would defend the living wage in the United States, which is what my evidence links to.
I would say I would accept disadvantages to living. Okay, so
So this is a
besides that
disadvantage
point,
that is to
both of
living
these,
wage.
both of these pieces of evidence just show that in the past, living wage has been
Again,
historically
disagree.
misapplied, correct?
Disagree.
Okay, so what is the
The-
offense
okay.
I'm missing?
The offense you're missing is the second part of the first piece of Hutchinson evidence, and then the empirical second piece of Hutchinson evidence.
All right, can you
These-
explain it?
Absolutely. The second part of the first piece of Hutchinson evidence says that the goal was to portray unemployment as a social benefit. This is not about. This is not.
historical instance.
Okay, can you give me a minute? This is not about the intention of the affirmative, but rather the way the policy is justified, which means that independent of what the intentions are, when the policy is passed, it is created so that black people are unemployed, and then they are not let into labor unions, because labor unions say we only want people who are working in high-wage jobs that we can negotiate for, and those are not black individuals. The
So
second piece of Hutchinson evidence is
let's go
entirely
to the
weird.
framework.
Yeah.
What's the one in Gooden? Gooden just seems to say that governments have acted on utilitarian
No,
principles.
Gooden says that governments must act on utilitarian principles because governments have an obligation to weigh between actions. So
Why
governments.
does weighing actions mean?
Okay, so here's the big picture. The argument in Gooden is that policymakers uniquely have an obligation to justify their decisions to their constituents. That's different from individuals who can make theoretical judgments or practical judgments as per the
Yeah,
AC.
why is justification to constituents mean?
The Gooden evidence says that if you want to justify a reason why you violated X person's rights instead of another, deontic theories are insufficient, and you need to use utilitarianism to justify those like conflicting rights claims issues.
So let's talk about what. So Hartford clarifies that there are some intuitive truths. How do we verify what's intuitive?
The argument. All right. This is the Parfit evidence that we read. The argument that the conclusion to the Parfit evidence is that reflective equilibrium as a methodology means that we should use utility to resolve moral uncertainty. Yes, there are some intuitive truths, and those intuitive truths cannot be weighed. You and I might have a debate, and one of us will inevitably be right or wrong about those intuitive truths, but I might not accept what you say, or vice versa. The argument is that there's a large amount of moral uncertainty. It's not easy to come to a conclusion about morality, and that's a reason that we should use utilitarianism.
But so your claim there was one of us will be right with our intuitions, but instead of trying to figure out which
No,
one is
because
right, we should just keep ourselves
No,
alive
we-
and hope that one day like a miracle will
No,
happen.
that's not the argument. That's the Bostrom argument. Parfit is distinct. The argument is that we all have distinct moral truths. There's no way to decide between them. That one of us might be wrong and one of us might be right, but we won't come to that conclusion because we can never. If we start from different principles, we cannot agree on them. That's a reason that we should maximize life and attempt to maximize the number of ideas in reflective equilibrium.
minute 8 left. The order is down the AC, then the NC framework, then first off his first off case, and then his last off case. Oh, I'm reading a couple of points.
Why don't you just flash them after?
Everyone ready? You have conceded to the entirety of the AC framework. There's a ton of preclusion. Means you are not going to access your util framework. You can insert first analysis of class that there's a distinction between theoretical and practical knowledge. The theoretical knowledge is observational information that's simply apprehended. Practical knowledge, conscious, deductive reality. You can see all the reasons why we have to care first about why this distinction is most fundamental of all agency. Without correctly applying distinction, you not understand cases where you relate to the world of an agent. There are two reasons that weighs underneath this. The one is that you are not a morally responsible agent until you question a practical institution. Why, if you're not questioning a practical institution for not just why it exists, why it should exist, that's a fundamental well truth. You also concede that my framework indicates you can't hold the conception of an action without non-alienation. Even if util is the better moral theory in the abstract, util only applies to actions because that's the only thing that is morally relevant. At that point where you alienate any conception of action, you do not actually access your offense. You have two responses to the framework. You say one, we prefer government framework because it's more practical, because yours isn't specific to government. No, mine gives a very clear directive to the government. The government has to structure the economy and structure policies in a way that it does not alienate individuals, that it structures it more practically and theoretically. You also say no, practical requires government and utilitarian complex. It isn't about practical. My framework isn't about practicality in the usual sense. It is about our mistaking or engaging with the world. That means you are misunderstanding the way practicality is used in the AC. You also say government. You already assume that government's going to be practical. So that already begs the question of what you're trying to prove. I say governments are practical and they follow the AC framework. Go to the offense. You do not do enough while working the offense. If the offense is just about structuring actions in accordance with theoretical knowledge, you are way behind. You can extend the first wills or two evidence that we need a destruction of current theoretical economic laws where wages are just a price. The figure at all is very good in this issue. It's not just that wages is a living character over co-ops. The normal way we view the economy is always that preferable. You say a minimum wage something is not about the market wages. One, no, it's not just about a price. It's about livability. Only living wage construction concerns about livability. Two, figure that all shows that it's still a price. So your analysis of price, only wages living to change your mind. Three, law 2 is very clear in this issue itself. It's effective economy if it's not helping people out. It's practical considerations. You say we have to care about the economy collapsing first. No, the economy's purpose is not to instantiate itself. It's just to focus on giving individuals livable life. You also say racism controls the case. No, racism is a horrible impact, but it doesn't deal with the problematic engagement of the AC. That comes on a higher level layer. 2, the AC outweighs is how we structure our moral norms. The AC point is that nobody's respected when they within an alienated wage system because you do not view yourself as key to moral agency. That means it's always a higher level B. It's key to even be said to have a right to not be oppressed or right to not be violated, to view yourself as a morally responsible agent, as an agent worthy of consideration. That's what the AC does. Means I come on the highest framework. All of your framework is incoherent. You first establish a reflective equilibrium. This is problematic. Coherence among beliefs is pointless if we don't know these beliefs are right in the first place. Daniels. Moral intuition doesn't have no evidentiary credentials, particularly no role in moral theory. Simply making coherent sense that no initial chemically cannot produce justifications. Essentially, since coherent fiction still in fiction considered judgments lack evidential force regarding moral order and therefore coherence, and reflective equilibrium has only a kind of persuasiveness. Intuition fails for two reasons. First of all, moral intuition is very wild, so serious disagreements are supposed to be normal evidence and how to proportion moral evidence intuition. Second, moral intuition for the evidence role of perceptual appearance and provides the evidence in some way. Those whose intuition differ widely may well justify moral beliefs when they confirm another, they come to know things the same, very different from someone else. Their competition for fame. You say we maximize deliberation. That already presumes your moral theory cares about its instantiation. There's no reason we want a moral theory in the future to establish moral truth. That already presumes utilitarian calculus. You also say default util, but no, most people don't share the intuition that we should sacrifice everything for the greatest good. People understand science. You also say we link to the physical world. I mean, my framework also does it. You say good, but oneness is all fallacy. Just because governments operate this way doesn't mean they should. You also say no, util is absurd for governments to follow. That's why they're Bill of Rights. They constrain how you can act. 3, it's about you couldn't just establish weighing. That my say for yourself because it's about weighing justification. Go to the first case. This is problematic. It's just the historical analysis of how policy has been applied. Just because people have misused living wage, not a reason you link into the criticism. The AC defends living wage as an ideal of livability. It's always never preferable. On the last level, a living wage solves poverty. None of the 50 estimates show consistency too. Across the also says 40-48 to 40-54 estimate poverty rate. Along the one side, but also just minimum wage actually free poverty. More percent use not methodology. That's also problematic. Reason that it actually helps more people.
Next time, can you flash me what you're writing, including where you get the do that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait. called?
Just one error.
Just one error. For
Just put it,
Alright.
put it the other mode so you can see the list.
yeah.
And this right from.
How much does it reduce poverty, according to Duke? Is that 0.07%? Yeah, 0.07%.
Yeah.
Okay, so order will be, big picture overview framing of the round. You can flow that on the second dissad that I read. Then we'll go to the first dissad, back to the second dissad, case, then NC, framework. The last part of the speech will just be the framework debate. So I would start on the NC and we'll switch back and forth to the AC. I promise I'll sign to this, it'll be clear.
Case means AF?
Case means F, correct.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Is everyone good?
Extend the entirety of the conceded leaching. That's Williams' evidence cause of massive keen employment. Extend the keen employment controls the internal economic growth stability. That's Herbert 09 evidence that the impact extinction on him at 12. Here's what you know: the AF causes extinction. That's the starting point for the debate. And extinction outweighs the entirety of poverty evidence because his poverty evidence is a reduction in 0.07%. The fact that the entirety of extinction analysis needs to also conceive the weight analysis that you should prefer extinction level impacts, extinction level determine our ability to engage in morality debate in the first place. Also, is not a question of probability because he doesn't gain increased probability. At least I have evidence that he causes increased unemployment. Third, you should weigh the race debating against race outweighs any of marginally increased poverty. Here's the big picture. There's only one place the affirmative has offense. The affirmative only has offense under the AF case. If there are any other layers to debate, he has to resolve every one of them before he gets offense. So let's go to the first layer. Let's go to the other dissad. Concession of the Medina evidence at the bottom of the other dissent is game over. The Medina evidence is that prior to answering the ethical question, we have to ensure equal inclusion, which means that questions like racism have to be answered before we can engage in the question of the affirmative. That's the Medina evidence is really fantastic. It's also 100% conceded. There's not even a word on the Medina evidence. The call for the evidence that's around, it literally says equal inclusion is a prerequisite to answering ethical questions. The affirmative is an ethical question or a prerequisite. That means that if the affirmative causes racism, we can't vote for the affirmative because a prerequisite to answering the question whether or not we can whether or not we are ethical is to eliminate racism. So extend so first internal link is the other dissent. He concedes that the affirmative causes massive unemployment for minority teens, and the internal link to racism. That example that the affirmative exacerbates racism, the reason why they aren't equal inclusion do alienate individuals. He concedes the race impacts on the affirmative. That the affirmative at least has the internal link to race. You can't evaluate the app independently. The Hutchinson evidence. Except the second piece of Hutchinson evidence. This is empirics. This is not a history analysis. That is the first part of Hutchinson evidence. His only response is that this is just historical analysis. Second piece of Hutchinson evidence is entirely empirical. It says that the affirmative gets rid of a large massive amount of jobs. Second is that you prefer historical analysis over generic evidence. And there is no evidence that he reads at any point in time. So the affirmative would be better for including the black body procedures that you at least prefer historical analysis. Historical analysis is better indicator of how future policies work. Third is that the entirety of Williams evidence is the reason why Hutchinson evidence is true. Why there is an exclusion of the black body as a result of fewer black teens being employed means there's no reason that the unions want them because the unions are constantly trying to keep them out. 100% conceded analysis means I have the internal link to the Medina evidence. That's game over. You can just vote there because it's the easiest place to vote. It's conceded. Now let's go to the app. Okay. So big picture overview. There's not a single turn in the affirmative. So any turns that are reading at the negative are no risk issues for me. Let's go to the first one. That's the economy turn. Extend that if the economy doesn't exist, that's a reason why as a turn of numbers 4 and 5. His argument is that the economy doesn't have any reason to be substantiated, but one that's not true because his argument is that the governments create the economy for a purpose. If the government were to allow the economy to collapse, it's still a net harm because it means whatever the purpose the assets the economy has can't be fulfilled because the economy doesn't exist. Second is that extinction is also inconsistent because his argument is that the economy should exist for the purpose of the people. If the people don't exist, it's also inconsistent for the economy to exist. The framing issue here is that there is literally no arguments here. He speeds through the entirety of turns. This turn is fantastic. It says when the economy doesn't exist, you can't create the economy for a practical purpose because the economy is already gone. Now, so really important. The big picture here is almost no analysis done. The only analysis done is that this isn't true because there's no reason the economy has to substantiate itself. I've given you specific reasons. Those were all from the one and C, completely conceded, don't allow new offense. But also, extend the racism controls the internal link. The affirmative. His argument is that we should care about the practical versus ethical purpose. But he's and sees the analysis that I do. First is that the largest exclusion could be from being allowed in the economy in the first place. The affirmative is analysis of whether or not we should use a theoretical or practical approach to the economy. The black body isn't included in the practical approach at all. That is the greatest form of exclusion, the greatest form of alienation because it means they don't have the opportunity to engage in the same debate. He concedes that I solved the entire. He can see the affirmative makes it worse for the black body to recycle link off back to the affirmative. The arguments here are just going to be a lot of theoretical analysis that two is going to do, but that isn't responsive because my evidence, my analysis is specific. It uses the same rhetoric that his evidence does because his argument is of the theoretical analysis of the practical analysis that we should include individuals whole. My argument is that if we include individuals, that requires including the black body first because they allow at least allowing them into it's a great form of exclusion not to include them. Now let's go to the app framework. Okay, all right. So we'll do this framework debate on the negative. I will concede the arguments of intuition that take out the first two standard. I'm going for the good in evidence and cross application of the AC. The good in evidence is really good. It says that even if this is the way that governments generally work, it has to be the way governments specifically work in this specific instance. Now, the implications here are multiple. First is that so let's go through his responses. The first response is the governments often use side concerns, but that's not true because governments also generally have to do this in a way that's conceding good in evidence. The second is that you do use side concerns. Those side concerns simply to create beneficial utility principles. Second is that at least is a better way for governments to use it because conceding good in evidence means the best form of what the government should do. He says the affirmative creates obligations. The government never clarifies what those obligations are, especially when he's conceded obligations are, because he just says that we have an obligation to practical economy. He says that individuals have an obligation to question the practical economy. That's never something a government can do. Government doesn't have intuition. Government doesn't have thought. Government doesn't have agency, which means they can't question the same things the affirmative can. Means the affirmative doesn't make any sense in context of that. The second piece of evidence you should extend is the Armstrong evidence. This evidence really good says that we have an obligation to make the world better when we can't completely concede. He never even goes to Senator Armstrong evidence. Senator Armstrong controls the internal link of the affirmative. Says that we have an obligation to make the world as good as possible. If I've read specific evidence why the affirmative is a bad idea because the affirmative causes extinction. That's a reason why you should at least go check for the negative. Senator Armstrong means if there's any type of ethical concern, you should prefer evidence. And the top of the then let's go up to the top of the NC. So not going for the intuition arguments. I am going for the second piece, for the first piece, for the Rawls evidence. Extend the Rawls evidence that the rules that are reasoning after the question of ethical computation substance considered judgments about the world. The analysis under here is that this is the argument the only framework that maximizes ability for moral deliberation because it further created kind of existence will be framework that allows to achieve coherence. The entirety framework is the reason why we should care about the distinction between practical theoretical frameworks to be able to move towards a practical framework. Being said, if we are all dead, there is no chance we can move closer towards a practical framework. This is conceded analysis. Also, that arguments against usual just true that we have yet to reach a sound ethical basis. If they win arguments against us, reason to look you, but only the ethical allows to value ethical offense. Now let's go to the top of the AC. He's extended a bunch of offenses reasons why he somehow precluded the entire NC. He prefers specific analysis over the generic extensions, especially when one is so fast you didn't understand all the cards coming out the one C nor the extensions coming out the 1 AR. I've been explaining how these link back to the framing of the round and how these link back to the framing of an ethical decision that you should prefer my specific analysis over general analysis. So remember, big picture weighing. Go to the Medina evidence first, there's no chance of a turn there. Then you should evaluate the turns of the NC, see if he even has a chance of offense. Then util framework, and then only you can evaluate whether or not he has offense under his framework. 108.
The order is same as last speech. It's it's AC then the first off case with Medina.
Okay.
Then it's At the point where you are conceding every single F frame record, there's always a higher strength when the F frame records are true. That by the point that neg frames are contested, you can extend all of the warrants. You can extend the analysis that the distinction between theoretical and practical analysis is fundamental to moral agency. Without correctly applying this distinction, you not understand cases where you relate to the world as an agent rather than an observer. Agents can be alienated when they treat reality as purely theoretical and practical. He's conceded both reasons this ways. One is that to even be a morally relevant or responsible agent, to be consider yourself as an agent, you have to already adopt the perspective. You have to practically engage in the world. He's also conceded the second argument that says my frame indicates you can't hold a conception action without non-action. He says you need to your specific analysis. This has particular analysis that you can see in your analysis, which says even if util is a correct moral theory, the fact that your util can only be applied to action means you have to prefer an action theory perspective on the higher level because if your movements are not actions, you cannot morally evaluate them, even if utils are correct theory moral theory. That means that come on the highest layer. That means all offenses are relevant. Go to the F offense. He is not doing enough work. You can send the wills and figured analysis that established that there is a problem with wage systems that established that you only have to care about price, only the wages as a living. Restructured our views that wages are normatively supposed to be guide how we practically engage. He says these extended that the economy collapses because. And since the government is a creates economy for purposes always problematic, no, that is nonsense where there's no harm to not practically engaging with an economy that doesn't exist. The only harm is engaging improperly. That is what the AC establishes. If there is no economy, you cannot mistakenly engage with it theoretically and practically means this is not linked to the frame. You also conceding law 2, the harms that are isolated by the economy, the fact that it is defective by allowing people to suffer in their lives. If these people do not exist, they are not linking back. He says exclusion allows the economy. You can see the two reasons why. You can see the two reasons why you prefer my offense over the structural racism. The A's point is that nobody is respected from an alienated perspective because you do not even evaluate yourself as able to be engaged in the system. You do not evaluate yourself as having full rights. That is the analysis that says you cannot be considered to be oppressor or have a problem from the oppression without first establishing yourself as a morally relevant agent. Go to the NC. You can extend conceded weighing like Medina without interacting with the AC conceded weighing. The fact that we both have conclusion arguments means you need to weigh. The point he is not doing that weighing. You always prefer to interact on the weighing he is. So evidence is always comparatively better. Norms like equal inclusion are only relevant if we evaluate institutions practically as normatively valuable to be included. It means I'm always having the highest weighing. He also says that these people are excluded, but misuse does not mean moral. He's not conceding this argument. He says that it's empirics, but empirics are just establishing historical past events. His analysis, evidence is not just saying a building collapsing on an individual means that a building itself is bad. That's always problematic because the historical analysis does not mean it's correct. Go to the framework. He extends good, but he's not doing enough work in my interactions with the ACI. I explain that my framework is practical. It establishes how we come off to orient its relief. Ultimately establishes that you have to weigh side consequences. That my AC framework still accounts for how you should practically engage. Also, couldn't already relies on the AC framework being true because of prevents the question why we should practically engage. He also conceded that no government actions way. That's why there's like a Bill of Rights. They must be constrained. He says psychic should matter, but that is irrelevant. He also says air offense and Armstrong. He's conceded it's not intuitive to adopt util because there's other irrelevant things. He also says you maximize deliberation. That presumes instantiation. That's a utilitarian framework. Good.
Still alive. Confirmation bias. Why?
So nearly
Yeah. Yep. My laptop crashed for the fourth time this debate.
I can
Fourth. Yes, the fourth time. Yeah. I just plugged in and just like restarted because of this.
Where is Yeah, we were very good. What is the penalty for me? My dad was my decision.
Let's take a chip to eat.
Oh yeah, I thought you said it was going to be tough to use. Like it's like at least one more step in this whole.
Oh yeah, I need to
process.
just get up and get out of here.
You guys just like explain it, will you?
You just piece my decision together, guys.
Here's my float.
I typed it out.
Dude, remember this place?
What is it?
A German bar with a volleyball court. Although there's
Are you down?
You don't put this on there. We'll talk about it second.
Huh?
Ice.
What?
Sure.
I mean, we can talk about it. I really don't care. Relatively cheap people.
Yeah, sure.
That's all.
Why not?
Yeah, that's fine. From the feedback I've received. Oh,
You gotta be sure to say that. That makes it a lot more. I actually don't. I did not watch it. I was kind I'll stay. One of the panel would have forced it to just be so difficult. Like Callie would be out. Like me, not a question.
Yeah, do you think there's a single panel where the team would just be out? It's like, yeah, but it's straight as king.
No, probably not.
That would be fucking weird.
Not out of the option.
Yeah,
But
I know what you
it
mean.
wouldn't. Yeah, just like there. Yeah. It's good.
You can do that. Try and start it. I thought it was like Smithfield and
Just like you gotta. I like nationals debate. I like nationals debate.
you do.
Mm-hmm.
This is like a fun
Yeah, I love nationals. I was so good. My jam. Tech debate, fun, but national debate, you're like kind of constrained from making student cards.
Oh yeah?
Kind of.
Kinda.
Not entirely. One of the rounds of laws was like the kid who figured out how to make all these discard moves seems his way. So like tool in the toolbox is the same name. Like justice is yeah. I had like 4 digs and they're all earth. And it was just like, man, these are nasty. These are gnarly abusive arguments. I read it, but I read it. My theory was nationals was like I quoted the ballot and
What would you say?
read kind of like paragraph theory. You know, just like, I just said like these aren't symmetrical. He has made 5 hoops that I have to jump through, and that means that we don't have. And there's like the NFL ballot has like 10 times as many. There's like 10 rules on it. So
What were how did people do you know that?
yeah, no, it made me kind of mad.
Wait, what?
It made me pretty mad.
You won on it?
No, I did not.
Oh.
Not that round. Yes, other rounds I was like quoting the ballot. Functionally.
Oh my god, dude, I can't look at classes 8 to 9:30 a.m. auto now.
No, definitely.
It's like no matter how this is the most interesting class.
You know that.
It's like
I'm not a morning person.
Dude, why is every class on taking conspiracy?
It's a conspiracy. Out to get you.
Doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, take your favorite class in the world, fun metric.
It's like the blight of my college experience. Tried twice.
It almost took you out.
It was ugly. I was like, oh, I guess getting the econ degree and the passing the ideas, there's like this one hurdle.
Dude, I literally can't find third class.
Oh, long week. Always a little hectic. Give you a little less understanding. Hectic.
Yeah.
When's your flight tomorrow?
I don't know. I think 11 a.m.
Okay, we're good.
Congratulations, both debaters. On a 2-1 decision, it is a decision for the negative. I was the dissenting party. I'll be relatively brief. Ultimately, the framework debate for me was not clear enough and specific enough on the negative. I heard a lot of exhortations to prefer specific arguments, and I actually thought that David had more specific arguments precluding both util and the what was her name, the card, the Medina card. I read about it and considered it, and I looked at it a couple of times, but I think the tag asserted that it was an exclusionary thing, but the card itself did not seem to exclude anything morally. It said that if you wanted to start this insurrection or rebellion or whatever it was, you ought to do these things, but it didn't tell me why you would do that in the first place, and it didn't seem like an exclusionary type of piece of evidence. So given that, I think that David was much clearer on the util level to debate why this agency stuff would preclude yours, and I found his answers just generally more coherent and responsive, that I never got to your impact. Now, you had a laundry list of impacts the length of my arm that would have been persuasive had I got there, and I was a little light on impacts here, but if that's the only impact standing, that's where I am. So that's more or less it in a nutshell.
So for me, since the AF only has offense under the AF framework, I start by trying to resolve whether any of these turns that are functionally nibs, as Pranav puts it, in the 2N stand. And I find that one of them does, and that kind of terminates my decision. And I'll talk about why I think the framework debate would have been difficult to resolve. The turn, I think, the argument that if the economy collapses, that it would be bad because if the economy is for a practical purpose and we create it for this purpose, then whatever that purpose is, non-existence would be counter to that purpose. I'm just not fully understanding the warrant to your response. It doesn't link into the theoretical practical distinction per se, so it's not like linking directly into your framework analysis, but it seems to be sort of hijacking the logic of your framework, and without sort of an argument as to why that doesn't make sense, I think that conceptually does make sense. The 1A is really limited on it. You just say that the economy's purpose is not to instantiate itself; it's just to give someone a good life. But I don't understand why that isn't totally aligned with his analysis. That if it is intended, if it has this teleological purpose or this practical purpose, that why it wouldn't also be implicit within that we would need to continue its existence for that purpose. The 2AR, I think, expands on it a little bit. I don't have this argument in the 1A, so it's not relevant to my decision, but the argument that the economy, it's nonsensical, basically. This argument is nonsensical because there's no harm, there's no alienation from engaging in something or like not engaging in something that doesn't exist. I'm not positive that is your argument. That's how I have it flowed. But I don't accept it because I don't have it in the 1A. And I think to me that kind of alludes to what you maybe were trying to get at. And I can see why in concept like your framework would perhaps take this out. But I just don't feel like I have a depth of explanation in the 1A or the depth of warrant to exclude it, nor really in the 2A am I fully understanding it even then. So with that in mind, it's a really simple negative ballot just because if the economy needs to continue itself, or we have a superseding obligation to continue the existence of the economy, and the economy collapses, or we have extinction in the negative world, or in the affirmative world, then I vote negative under the affirmative framework, regardless of the outcome of the framework debate. Which is, I think, nice, since I would have found it difficult to resolve the framework debate because there's lots of conceded framework evidence, and there's some comparison, but not that much. I think it would be difficult to determine how I would pick between the Rawls argument that we need to have continued moral reasoning, and therefore that's reasonable for util, versus the conceded or mostly conceded Synod Armstrong. The argument in the 2A is a new cross application. Maybe there's embedded clash there, but it's like the very last seconds of your speech, versus the Medina evidence at the bottom of the disad, versus again, I think the evidence in the AC is also mostly conceded, at least in content, and the weighing you're doing on why, I'm persuaded that the AC evidence is conceded, as is the 1AR impacting in terms of moral agency and action theory, as is the 1A weighing between racial alienation and moral alienation. But even with all these concessions, I just wouldn't have a very easy way of non-interventionally picking one of them. And so I think it's the simple and sound ballot for me is on the link turn to the AC framework.
I appreciate the fact that the NR actually does some big picture weighing for us. It's one of the things I try to beat into our debaters' heads, which is this notion that judges want you to guide and direct their thinking. They really want to help you figure out how to help them figure out how it is they're supposed to resolve the round. And I honestly think in the 2AR, especially since you made the decision earlier in the debate not to go to his disads, really, that you're relying pretty much entirely on the framework arguments, some of which I didn't really understand very well. I'm not really sure I know what the action theory perspective is, and that's really not something you explain, which might be part of my difference with Chris, is that I really don't know what that is, and I needed more of an explanation in that for me to take it more seriously. I think I would have taken the advantage, though, in the 2AR of saying, he says this is the big picture. He says here's where you vote. He's wrong. Here's why. Because the danger with the kind of big picture analysis he does is he does open the door for you to be able to respond to it in what wouldn't then be a new argument, because all you're doing is responding to what he said in the previous speech. But you don't do that, and I'm confused by the action theory perspective thing, as I've said. I do appreciate the guidance direction, and I'm, in addition to agreeing with Eric on some of the economic points, and I'd really rather not die in a nuclear war, I also think there's not enough of a focus or even a response really on the racism question once you get past the 1AR and you're suggesting that it's just historical analysis. It is more than that. Frankly, I've heard this argument a bunch of times on this topic, and I'm really sure you're probably right that it is just historical analysis and it's not necessarily contemporary, but it is something which is woven throughout the negative story, and that one dismissive argument that early in the debate is not enough for me.
Very